Alright, welcome back to Lenz's Comic or Classic Non-Classics. This is episode number 1944 and Doubleshot number 1838. The theme of this one? Now, I do have a theme with this one. Which one is it? Two characters whose power is based in magic. First up it is Thor by Donny Coates. Volume 4, The God of Hammers. Yeah, this is the storyline that's been building this book pretty much since the start of this run. Yeah, since like the very start of it. Because there's been this recurring thing, this whole storyline, this whole run where Thor's hammer is getting heavy for him to lift. He can still wield it, no problem. It's just getting much more heavier. And he basically throws it away. At one point, he actually put Tony Stark's personal phone number on the damn thing. Yeah. So, by the way, this book collects from Thor, I believe. This is volume 8, I believe it is. Issues 1924 and material from issue 25, which was a double-sized issue. And I think this issue was $7.50, if not mistaken. Okay, yeah, it was book 6. Volume 6, excuse me. Yeah, and the reason why it collects just the two backup stories because the first story is basically part of the next story arc, which I'll discuss in the future with that one. And it was issue 700. It was issue 24, the conclusion of this very story arc. That, well, that was simply put the 750th issue of the series, and it was a double-sized issue. Yep. And the sad thing about this story arc is we have the second death of Odin in this story arc. Yes. So Thor goes looking for his missing hammer. He goes to be with Odin. He basically goes all over the place. Sif basically can't find it because she's basically taking a hiding position. And eventually discussing about the God of Hammers. Odin thinks it's a myth. Angela does think it is, and it turns out there actually is it, and it's actually Mjolnir himself. And from this energy being, apparently Mogog is involved. Yes. And in order to stop Mjolnir from doing all the destruction, from being the God of Hammers, Thor destroys Mjolnir. And its appearance basically matches its appearance from the Thor Love and Thunder movie with the whole cracked and put back together when eventually put together later. And there's great stuff with Angela in this book, which is so awesome. And if you think about it, this is the only book she's featured in lately. Yeah, because it seems like ever since the cancellation of her book. Oh, by the way, apparently Thor's mom has now become the god of hunt. Interesting. Oh yeah, and she wears an outfit just like her awesome sons. Yeah, and also for some reason, I thought was kind of weird. They have a story in here that follows directly from the finale for Loki, Agent of Asgard. So apparently, for one of the stories, issue 24, there's a Loki story that follows directly from that. But here's the thing. The story that follows it comes out roughly 7 years later. And despite the fact... This was kind of weird. So then this story leads into Defenders Beyond, which I believe it's out right now. Yes, I believe it is. Yeah, it's the second Defenders book after the previous volume ended. Yeah.
Got the rest of your laundry, Nikki.
Okay.
The shirts may need to dry some more, but the laundry right here. So
Okay.
we'll make some for next.
Okay. Yeah, and also we see the death of Mongog, who basically has been possessing Mjolnir. Another thing called God Tempest. Yeah, he got killed. That got killed off here too, which is interesting to say the least. Oh, by the way, prior to this story arc, when was the last time she was actually featured in anything? Because that's the weird thing about her, is that prior to this story arc coming out, her last thing she was featured in prior to appearing in the previous story arc was she appeared in Marvel Voices of Pride and the Strike Force brief ongoing series. Though she also previously appeared in issue 16 of the previous volume for the series. Yeah, so it's like her last book she appeared in was Strike Force, and then she appears here sporadically in these issues here. I'll have some complaints about that later, but this God of Hammer story was actually really good. Great finale, and sad to see Odin get killed off again. The last thing I killed off, if I remember correctly, I think he got killed off when Dan Jurgens wrote the book, and now he gets killed off here again, though he had just come back, I believe, during the, if I remember correctly, I think he came back during, I think it was like the very first, I think the first story arc that Matt Fraction worked on for Thor was when he brought back Odin. In the Wood Eater story arc, that's when he brought the character back. And that was back in like about 2011-ish. So he'd been back now for over a decade, and now he gets killed off again. And of course, sad we got a chance to see a couple more characters for Thor get killed off here. Fine. Progress the story. But then we have, is Odin going to go to Valhalla to see his father and his brothers? No, because Valhalla is empty. The gates have been broken. And the finale for this very story arc, well, the epilogue anyways, leads directly into Banner of War, which is a cross between this book and the Hulk. Yep. Aside from having Don Nicolas do the writing for this book, the main story, he does pretty much all the writing here, including the first story for issue 24. The main story's artwork is done by Nick Keene. For 24, these are your Raiders and artists. Now, first story, Second Son of Asgard, is of course done by the regular creative team, Don Nicolas, Nick Keene. Prologue is done by Walt Simonson and Laura Marlowe, Walt Simonson is the colorist. Writing artist. And we have Dan Jurgens, who has wrote the book in the past, which good to brought him back, who does the writing artwork for a film called The Seduction. And here's another previous story writer, J. Michael Straczynski, who does Benedictions. I believe this was his first Marvel book he's done since like 2010. Yes. And of course, Al Ewing comes next. That's the Loki story. And we also have Who Will 2, Jason Aaron, obviously. Thor 25, where it's done by Tom DeFalco and Ron Fritz. Tom DeFalco, the guy who wrote Thor back in the 90s, prior to his relaunch. Thor Wedding, adapted from Myth of the North, the same name, written by Nita Simmons. Yes, but what a great way to end this story arc here. But this is at the end of the run. You might think, okay, so he wrapped up the whole thing with Mjolnir. Mjolnir gets fixed, and apparently Odin's spirit possessing Mjolnir. Oh, in case you're curious, though, what's the current look for Mjolnir? Because the fact it was broken by Thor. Like, if you're a Thor fan, you would personally love this story arc. Because it feels like definitely a good conclusion to the story arc. And that's what Mjolnir looks like now. We're thinking, wow, it's like they basically went with the movie version of a Mjolnir. Yes, that's 100% completely true. I don't know if it gets split apart or not. Basically, it's reforged. But without the whole God of Hammer stuff. But really enjoy this stuff here. Great, awesome book. I give this book a 9.5. If you didn't like, by the way, they do reference the previous story arc where Donald Blake went mad. And they also bring up the Black Winter, which was the opening story arc of this run. Yeah, it's almost like basically everything that's been going on since issue 1 has been completely wrapped up with, like, issue 24 within 2 years, which, great. And then you have the stuff that comes afterwards, okay, then you have the Banner of War stuff, which wraps up issue 26. And now you have a story arc where, okay, it came out yesterday, where we have a guest appearance by Eddie Brock. Yeah, basically we have just, well, Donico's writing him again. Though apparently with issue 29 we got a guest writer who does basically... Now, I don't think that he's left the book. No. I think we should just have a guest writer. Yeah. But this was a really good story. I love it. Alright, next up is a book I was looking at it, and this book had never... This miniseries never collected until before. But the only reason why this is in trade, the movie. That's coming out really soon, which I'm looking forward to seeing it. We have Black Adam, The Dark Age. Yes, apparently they went with the movie poster version of Black Adam, played by Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock. This collects the entire 6-issue miniseries by Peter J. Tomasi. Yes. And this came out, I believe, was in like 2007, I think it was. It was a long time ago, based on the artwork it is. 2007, 2008. The artwork in here is done by Doug Mankey. I met both people who worked on this book. Yeah, this is basically Black Adam trying to build his kingdom. That's simple what this miniseries is. He also gets a comic with the JSA and the Justice League in this book. But if you're looking for something really good for Black Adam, and fun fact, this is the very first series for Black Adam ever released by DC Comics. First time ever. Because mostly he's just been a supporting character, a group player in some group books, but never a character got his own series before. And DC would not experiment with this again until just recently, when they launched a 12-issue Max series simply titled Black Adam, also with a series of one-shots that explores the backstories of the new JS members. Excuse me. The JS members could appear in the Black Adam movie. By the way, we have one of the characters played by... We have Dr. Fate played by, of all people, Pierce Bronson, which I'm looking forward to that. One thing I thought was kind of odd is that they changed the ethnicity of Hawkman, where normally he's a white guy, and he's a black guy now. Black Adam, I don't have a problem with The Rock playing him. I mean, not only because he got good charisma. I mean, the thing is, this topic you say is Black Adam. Black Adam is not necessarily black. He's Middle Eastern. And The Rock does fit that. I mean, appearance-wise, because he's Samoan, he could basically... He's half Samoan, he's half black, half Samoan. But he does fit the bill. That's my opinion anyways. Though, you might think, okay, did Black Adam have hair in the comics? Yes, they did. He had black hair. Yeah. But The Rock does need it because he's The Rock. Plus, I love the look for this one. It's a pretty good miniseries for what it is. And I'm going to give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Yep. And it makes sense. They feature Hawkman in the book. Yeah, there was one funny part of the book. He falls on someone's car. He's like, Hawkman, you alright? Can you leave you? Yeah. You got a cell phone? Yeah. But typical stuff when it comes to this stuff. And this is just really good. And this actually, I believe, is one of the first book Tomasi ever did for writing-wise. Because I've met Peter Tomasi. I think this may have been... okay, here we go. I think this may have been his very first series he wrote. Well, actually, it's one of the first. But for series-wise, yeah, this was the very first series he ever worked on. And I believe he had started working on this series just before he did Green Lantern. So you can definitely say, yeah, this was his very first series he ever worked on for DC. That wasn't like a one-shot or a couple issues of some other book. But yeah, first series he worked on. I'm happy to review it. And if you think about it, well... Like, is there any more books that I could discuss by him? Well, I have discussed a good chunk of his work from DC. Yes, I have. The only thing left to go that I can think of is, well, the rest of his Green Lantern run. Let's see. There's also The Mighty. And And aside from those couple books, well, there's also G.I. Combat, obviously. And I think that's it, because I've discussed pretty much a lot of the stuff he's working on for DC. Yep. But yeah, I pretty much have reviewed a majority of this of his time at DC. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more. And he is doing the Mighty book right now. He did apparently was announced on Twitter recently that he's bringing back the Mighty as a series for Image. I'm definitely looking forward to reviewing it. I met Peter Tomasi in person. Nice guy. Yep. But not much to say about this book. It's awesome. All right, so that's it. Particular view. Oh, have I read Key? Yes, I have. So next up, more One Piece. Okay, next video. Bye.